Mr. Vice Chair. Commissioner Bolin.
Present.
Commissioner Duran.
Present.
Commissioner Bacon.
Present.
Commissioner Leonard. Okay. And Chairman and Vice Chair Al Metcalf.
Present.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
New business. City of Coolidge General Plan 2035, Open Space and Trails. Discussion and public hearing.
Commissioners, we'll have Phil will go ahead and start. This is another exciting part of our general plan, which is the open space and trails, and we have our Parks and Rec Director here to present also. And Phil will start us off, and then you can call on Rick Lapaya to present.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, there we go. All right, kind of our familiar graphic here. I'll kind of do what I've been doing month to month. Arizona statute requires that a general plan be updated every 10 years. It's the city's policy document. It interfaces with zoning and building codes and other municipal code sections. We have the categories of land use, circulation, open space and trails, which is tonight, growth management, water resources, and environment. The City Council approved a city participation plan in July of 2023, and that is 6 months covering these topics. That will then go before the Planning and Zoning Commission in March of 2024 for their initial recommendation, and then referred to the City Council in June of 2024, which will then go before the voters in November of 2024. Notices and monthly updates with commentary sheets were sent. Over 70 letters each month for the last 3 months to state, county, regional government, private, and nonprofit entities. Over 200 plus emails to the private sector, developers, architects, engineers, and emails to each of the department heads within the city to share posters and flyers, which were also distributed on bulletins in public areas around the city of Coolidge. So what I'll do here is I'll just kind of go cursory through the slides here and come back to one primary map that shows basically all the amenity locations of the parks. So here's our representation, our cover for the 2025 plan, moving through the facilitatory process of the 6 months that we're doing here to get to our final product here, hopefully. So this is the Chapter 4, open space element of the 2025 plan. Like I said, I'm just going to cover this fairly basically here. The first portion section here was an introduction of the open space element, inventorying the national parks, community parks, trails, paths, linear parks, an inventory of the existing parks at the time and their sizes, certain desirable characteristics and existing inventory of different categories of things from swimming pools, soccer fields, tetherball, sand play areas, things of that nature. And a little bit further of a development showing sort of the envisioning process of what things could potentially be or look like. So just some other fairly detailed information there. This is the map I'm going to come back to here. And the last section just basically kind of showing the design exercise of what conceptually some of the end product would eventually look like. So on our main map here, the 2025 plan focused on the aspects of a healthy and desirable city living experience. Many open space elements from private and public properties to municipally wide amenities contribute to these aspects. The open space element covers existing parks, open spaces, trails, as well as future planned community facilities. At various levels are the Casa Grande Ruins National Monument to what will be a regional park in the future at Coolidge and Skousen, along with community parks, neighborhood parks, trails, paths, and linear parks as inventoried by the open space element. 13 parks at the time were inventoried with a total of about 50 plus acres, along with an amenity inventory list of now swimming pool, recreation center, green space play areas, a skate park, along with basketball courts. And as of 2013 and approximately now, coming back to the map section here, all the areas that you can see in purple up here, along with the green and the sort of yellowish color here, constituted almost 2,100 acres worth of parks, open space, and trails. Many of this is located within the planned area developments that have been proposed and approved through the community in the last 20 years. And the city continues to grow portions of these communities, and their amenities will develop at the cost of the land developer and or the home builders. Natural open space areas are lands that are acquired or preserved in a natural state, such as, for example, the Casa Grande Ruins National Monument. The Gila River floodplain and surrounding areas are a similar example of this too. With such other locations, potentially like Picacho Lake, that once provided or in combination may or may again serve as recreational areas and potentially connected to each other. Trails that would connect these could be along drainage ways, irrigation canals, gas line easements, electrical transmission corridors, along with, once again, natural open space areas like the Casa Grande Ruins, the Gila River floodplain, and of course, along with arterial roadway dedicated paths. And just a brief notation, some of the linear element that you can see outside of the, well, let me cover this. The existing parks is in the darker green here, and you can see that basically in the central, more concentrated core of Coolidge. The next category is kind of a lime green, maybe yellow from where you're sitting, also kind of in the central concentrated areas. And then the largest category of the 2,100 acres is the proposed parks open space, once again, large portions of those PADs that were proposed and approved but not yet developed. So as far as trails go, canals are denoted here in blue, and hopefully you can see them, but there's a host of them creating sort of a crisscross pattern here. High voltage lines are called out in red. You can see their overlapping connectivity. And then lastly, natural gas lines kind of in the orange here. I'm probably going a little fast here, but you know, it's a pretty big map, so you can generally see the concentration and all the activity we've had the last 20 years. So the only other notation I was going to say is that some of these land use areas might actually repurpose or redevelop, because some of the larger portions, as you can see here, these are obviously golf courses. Things have changed contemporarism-wise, as I call it, like the last 10 or 20 years. I personally like golfing a lot, but not everybody has to. So in the future, as we continue to talk with the developers, some of these open space areas might be open for other discussion and different types of amenities. So basically, that is a summary, re-inventory of the 2025 plan. Portions of this will carry forward into the 2035 plan with comments that are received here amongst the Planning Commission, staff, and amongst the general public. So at this particular time, we can have more staff discussion. I know Ricky's got some great things to say, but I'll let you, Mr. Chair, decide the order that you'd like to proceed in here. So.
Okay. Phil, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Before you leave the map up there.
Uh-huh.
Martin Road doesn't show on our map.
It's hard to read. Yeah, it's not labeled. Sometimes because the detail gets a little crowded
Okay.
in there, so sometimes.
So there are some planned stuff at the parks out here, or the mobile home park that's on Martin and on Skousen and Martin. Are they on the map there? I don't think they are.
If, well, this was done in 2013,
Okay.
so it's been 10 years.
It'll be added on for the next.
Yes, it will
map.
be.
Okay.
Yes, it will.
I just wanted to bring that up
Yes.
so that it'd be on the record that that's not on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is actually generated by our GIS level, so we'll have some real good detail to it too. It's just that this map is so big that 11 by 17 is the best we can do.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Phil,
Yeah.
we talked about trails, and we talked about trails along canals or ditches, I think.
Right.
Isn't that all private property?
That's where some of this would require what is sometimes called a private-public partnership, like the area that I live in. When I go jogging, or at least when I used to jog, sometimes I'm on the HOA's path. Sometimes I'm on a private path, and sometimes I'm on a combination one where the main is actually maintained by 2 or 3 different entities. So,
That's here in town?
no, in Gilbert.
Gilbert, okay.
But still, that would be, and same thing in Buckeye. When I was out in Buckeye 20 years ago, for about 4 years, that was the way that we were making arrangements, or at least trying to talk to Western Area Power and APS at the time. Of course, the irrigation districts out there as well too, so
So this plan was developed in 2013.
2013.
Have we moved forward at all with doing anything with the canals and paths? I see them, yes, I see them in Gilbert, I see them in all over the metro area, but I don't see anybody that has got, are we doing any walking on these paths? Is it legal? I don't think San Carlos likes people on your stuff. Hello, Ricky.
And Mr. Chair and Commissioner Bolin, this also includes planning to connect private development with each other for walking trails. And Ricky, our Parks Director, and amongst other things, library and everything else, he can give you some idea. We've been working together with the Pinal County on some trails along the CAP, which is actually, he can share that with you, which is public property that connects to the city. And so if you like, Ricky can.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Ricky. Sure.
Mr. Bolin? All right, here we go. Yeah, so Gilbert's correct. Gilbert and I have been working with the county as far as the CAP canal trail that runs from southern Arizona all the way up through northern Arizona, as well as a future trailhead here in Coolidge. Now, while that falls within the city limits, it is quite a few miles east of where we stand now. So if I understand you correctly, so if you think about our current canals that now have a fence
Yeah, all of them.
and you can't walk it, so that would require a partnership with us and them to open that for walking. Like I said, we do have the CAP and we do have a future trailhead planned. But you're absolutely correct in the sense that we can't walk that canal like we probably used to 12, 15 years ago.
Any of the San Carlos canals, like the one that's just on the north end of town, we can't walk that either, I don't believe.
No, you cannot access that currently as it is, like we used to be able to many years ago without an agreement. So it would take an agreement between the city and the owners of that canal for us to turn that into a trail that would be walkable for everyone.
That is something we've talked about now for 10 years, is that my understanding?
Yeah, and
And we have not got anywhere with that so far.
I would say we've gone backwards in the sense that now has a fence.
Yeah, that's what I
Used
was
to, we
thinking.
could walk it because it was open without an agreement. Since there's been a fence, whether it was for whatever reason,
Yes, I played in that canal before you were born, so,
yeah.
as you well know.
I swam in that canal when I was little, but
Yeah, I did too.
yeah.
And so, I mean, it was just open to the public, and now it's completely closed.
It's
And San
completely
Carlos finds you there, they'll run you off.
Absolutely. You are
So
correct.
it's their canal, and I understand safety and liability, things that they're worried about. I know why they're worried, but it's saying, we've been doing it, I grew up doing it.
Well, at the same time, you're correct, safety, liability. But we do have the CAP canal, like I said, that's quite a bit east of where we stand now. It would take an agreement like that, because the CAP canal is also blocked up, but they have access gates that you can, as Gilbert knows, you can walk from southern Arizona to northern Arizona if you so choose, through the access gates with the future trailhead here in Coolidge. It would take that same type of agreement to access the canals we're referring to. But we're nowhere closer to an agreement than we've been in quite some time as far as making that happen.
Okay, but that's something we're working on, we just haven't got
That's
there.
something we would like, just because so you could essentially, like, the benefit for us would be if somebody was walking along, let's say the CAP canal, if they so chose to head west, you would hope that they could head through our city on the canal if they wanted to access that trail, or just people that live here that want to go walk in a safe space that you're not going to have traffic. We need to secure an agreement with them in order to access gates to do that.
Yeah, we have a lot of people walking on farm fields that are.
There's a lot of people walking on farm fields. There's a lot of people, as many of you know, that walk up and down 9th Street. That's why one of the first elements of a future regional park that we're working on now is the trails that run all throughout that park, which encompasses about 80 acres in its total. So when that is started or that is built, the city's not going to build all 80 acres at once. But one of the first elements will be a walking trail around those 80 acres for people to access, to walk and exercise safely without walking up and down a street without a sidewalk.
And a safe parking lot to park in.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
That's one of the
Absolutely.
problems.
Yeah.
This regional park you're talking about is west of the sanitation department? Is that where this?
Yeah,
80 acres is?
Cavett.
west of where Cavett sits now, that land west of Cavett all the way to Skousen.
All the way to Skousen, okay. And that's where we used to have ball fields that we removed because of pollution.
Well, our ball fields were just east of that.
Yes, sir.
The old regional,
No,
I
exactly.
used to turn in foul balls to you to get snow cones.
Yes, you did.
But all the environmental work, the beginning stages, all the environmental work, as Gilbert can attest to, so all that land west has been cleared.
Okay. It should have been because that wasn't where the chemicals were.
Right, it was east of where we remember the old, what
Yeah.
we called regional park.
Yeah, that was where the runway was, and the runway shouldn't have had anything on that far end.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm just interested in these trails because a lot of people like to walk, and
Right.
there's not many trails, and walking on sidewalk or asphalt is not that good for your feet.
Right, and so while the city and our Public Works Department has done a good job adding sidewalks, as you said, it's not always best on your knees or your feet. The future regional park will have, whether you want to call it decomposed granite or whatever, trails throughout to safely walk, parking lots, to park and access those trails.
Thank you.
There is
Chair, if you don't mind, and my apologies if I'm stepping on somebody, but all those comments on
Go-
the canals for my life.
Go right ahead.
A couple of things to point out, and I appreciate Commissioner Ball pointed out. One of the things to remember from both San Carlos and CAP is they don't own the property the canals are on. They literally do not have the authority to provide an agreement to the city or anyone else for that matter for that type of use. It's just shy of an act of Congress to allow that to occur. So if that is something the city wants to pursue, then I believe that's a great idea, but be prepared that they literally cannot say yes to it. I know folks use it for walking, I know folks use it for other uses, and they don't have leasing authority, but that's a Washington DC approved type of use. So if you want it, you better get started on that. Second, and I speak from experience on this, if we're going to put it on an updated general plan, we need to make certain that we identify it as proposed. There have been a tremendous number of issues as well as lawsuits caused, particularly in Maricopa County, when they identify federal projects or privately owned canals or trails, and then folks started jumping on them demanding use. So I just want to echo Mr. Boland's comments on that. If we want to get it done, then certainly I think we can, but it's going to be a long slog. Question for either the parks director or the planning staff with regards to the proposed open space and really the grass with what we're looking at there. Have we had any commentary or conversation with Arizona Water Company or some of the other providers as to whether or not they can actually provide the supply that we would need for an updated map and the parks that at least regionally we're looking to try and get done, not the existing ones, but both?
Go ahead.
Yes, I can answer that. So as far as the 80-plus acres of a regional park, now, Arizona Water could provide water to us for that park. We also have access to a well that the city owns out there that is being, I guess for lack of a better term, explored now. There is water in there. I can't remember the exact amount of gallons per day we could use. But we do have access to that, as well as hopefully in the future, if we got, given the proximity, especially to where this park would be, if we could get our wastewater up to a certain grade level, you can then apply that to a park. But, so let's say we got the money tomorrow to build the entire park. Arizona Water would absolutely can water it and would be happy to take our money to do so. But we are exploring other more cost-effective options such as our well that the city owns, and hopefully sometime in the future being able to redistribute our wastewater onto that land.
Right, you got to my second question, or the second part, which was cost. And I appreciate the update as well as others, I'm sure, about well infrastructure, but that's just the ability to access it. Groundwater, whether or not we have the right, and we have the right in the amounts that are needed to do it relevant. But cost at some point is going to become an issue. And while the council, commission, staff certainly, I know this, we all know this, are concerned about how we use taxpayer dollars and how it's invested. That gets pretty costly pretty quick. 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. We're not talking hundreds of dollars, we're talking thousands. So as long as those conversations are going on, I love them and appreciate you answering that question and getting to that second one. Thank you.
And Chairman and Commissioners, the Arizona Water has a really important part in this process also. They're going to be covering that in December. And they're right in the water portion of it since they're our water provider. They're like our own department. Down south at IPAS, it'll be Global Water that deals with that. And then also the corner of, on the southeast corner of Coolidge Avenue in Skousen, there are plans, and this is all preliminary. We're just looking at this. It still has to go through all the process and everything, but it's a staff level looking at it with consultants that are working on it. We may carve out a piece for commercial that could put some type of businesses that will complement the park. So we're looking at that, and that would be a nice, and then we could take the funds from that sale of that property, put it in the park. So that's just one thing we've talked about. So it's ongoing, and you got to remember, this is a planning document. This isn't, we're not setting trails and this is going to happen, and this is strictly what the community would like to see in the future. So it could move, it can change, it could be part of it, not all of it, and that's why we call it the general plan. The zoning and then the other components that Parks and Rec adopts, like the trail system, those probably have more of an actual dedicated area. So these are things we'd like to see, and some can happen, some won't. And it depends on the partnership and the access to the canals. So there's a lot of things, moving parts in this also.
Right, and this isn't something that staff is going to do without input from the Parks and Recreation Advisory, without input from you guys, and certainly City Council will be the one that decides what and when happens on any future land for parks, trails, that type of thing.
So this is more like a field of dreams.
It is a dream, but it's coming. At least the beginning phases of the regional park is slowly becoming more of a reality. Now, we're not going to have 80 acres of this great regional park, anytime in the next couple years, but we may have a phase one with certain amenities that our community lacks, like dog parks and things like that, pretty soon.
Is there any funding at all been set aside for this 80-acre park?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just shy of $3 million on our impact fees for the Parks and Recreation impact fees, which we're waiting on numbers now for phase one, but that's probably roughly halfway of where we want to be to get a phase one of this regional park, to add amenities to our city that we don't have, like I said, dog parks, and I don't want to get too deep into it. I don't want to say anything that I think may happen and it doesn't, but amenities we don't have now. I do know in a phase one will absolutely be a walking trail when and if it happens. But funding, so roughly close to $3 million have been set aside at this point to start that project, which is tens of millions of dollars. But we can definitely get started on the first phase of that with what we have and hopefully additional funding if we sell some of it for commercial or our grants coordinator is working on a bunch of grants to try to help offset some costs for whether it's dog parks or playgrounds, things of that nature.
And any sale of land will involve, putting it out to bid, the city council approving it, and that type of thing. So just like we do anything else. So
Right.
there's a process to it all that we go through. But we just wanted you to be aware. Some exciting news because we need an amenity like that in town. And so it is a field of dreams to some respect, but you gotta dream first and implement
It's
it.
a proposed field of dreams.
That's right, that's right.
And I just wondered if we had been able to get any money, and I had not heard that the council had set aside any money for that, but I didn't realize that, I did not know that some of the impact fees were being held by the rec department for future building.
Oh, yeah, no, as
And I-
these houses get built and developments come in, they all contribute to the fund.
Sure.
And also grants, we've always been very good at getting grants in the city. And so the staff's actually looking for all those grants that could help us. And especially because they involve water, sometimes there's water grants, that, and the area where this is being built was a farm. It was being farmed with water that it's all the ADQ approved, so we have consultants on board looking at that well and people that help us establish the ADWR approves that use for that property, so.
What you need now is a 250,000-gallon tank out there to put that water into so you can pressurize it and put it onto the grass.
That would be an option, yes.
Anybody from the audience have anything that they want to add to the Parks and Recreations?
And we have some developers in the audience and then just citizens, so if citizens want to comment or
Yeah,
even
if
developers want
anybody,
to comment.
anybody, this is an open
for the
section
record,
of the meeting. So anybody that wants to speak on anything that you've heard or seen tonight, we've got the people here to answer your questions. Maybe. Okay. Phil, you got anything else you want to add?
Nope, just that it's a pretty good plan, and appreciate the hard work that Rick and all the city employees did the first go-around to give us something to talk about right now, so.
And Ms. Chair, as we talked before, this is an ongoing. If somebody thinks of something when they get home, oh, I should have mentioned this about something they thought was a good idea, they can send it to us and we'll include it in the comments. So it's ongoing. This won't go before the city council till probably the beginning of '24, towards the middle of '24, and then it'll go to the voters to get approved in the fall election in '24.
Yeah, March of '24 for the P and Z, June 2024 the city council, and November 2024 for the general election.
So there's still time to comment.
Yeah, there's lots of time to comment, so anybody that has something that you see tonight that you'd like to see more of or something added to it, put it into the planning to the planning department. Give it to Phil. He'll add it to the map.
So, Mr. Chair, if you want, and you want to close the public hearing, you can either take a short break and then start the regular meeting, or just jump right in the meeting. It's your prerogative.
No, we'll take a short break. That way, Rick's probably going to leave.
I'll stick it out.
You're going to stick it out? Okay. The City of Coolidge General Plan meeting is over, and first order of new business is something you forgot to put on the schedule, Mr. Phil. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of September 13th.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Sure gives Shane a chance to say nay if he wants to.
Shane, did you want to say aye or nay?
My apologies, I said aye, but I may have said it too low for you to hear, so.
We didn't hear it, but that's okay. It's marked as an aye. First order of business. Cool PZ 230624. A major general development, plan development requested by Doug Reber and Val Carroll of Stone Masters Imports Incorporated to change the land use designation of rural ranchette to urban neighborhood on 31 gross acres of land as generally located southwest of the intersection of Randolph Road and Sierra Drive. APN number 401-25-003B.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, this is a general plan amendment that changes the general plan to allow the type of development that they're thinking about. And then if this is successful, then there's a rezoning application they have right behind it. So we're doing, running them concurrently. So we've done that before. And so Phil can talk about this portion of it, of the general plan amendment and the change, but it's pretty self-explanatory. And this is just directly to the west of Twilight Trails, south of Randolph. So it's its own project that is going forward. Doesn't impact, location, it does impact it, but it's not, doesn't take in the Twilight Trails community, so to speak. It's on its own, and then it would connect to the city in the future by a variety of ways, either package plant by themselves or potentially connecting through a sewer line straight through to the north, they eventually reaching our sewer plant, along with connecting to others that are building in the area. So, and if you'd like Phil to start, he can do it.
Bill?
Okay. Also notation, this is also running in parallel with an annexation that was heard before the city council on September 11th. So that will be finishing up with this general plan amendment and its rezoning application after this, if approved or recommended for approval by this body, going before the city council in November, as a side note. So our basic inventory, as always, here is our site exhibit. You can see areas designated as the city of Coolidge. The surrounding area, including the property itself, is currently in Maricopa County, Pinal County, I'm sorry. The general plan exhibit, once again, having the designation of being in the county, but still our general land use overlay for this calls it out as rural ranchette. The zoning exhibit, once again, the county calls it out as general rural in the brown here, down here under county zoning. And the graphic for this proposal basically needs show the location, the proposed change, and the exhibit that is provided as an example to emulate within the general plan is very much like this and calls out the relationship of the quarter-mile buffer with the land use. As you can see, there's a designation around it that is approximate to that, but there's a larger area, so you can see the overall land use in a larger comparison between the existing land use, which is here as rural ranchette, and the proposed change to urban neighborhood, which would align with the zoning that'll come after this application. So that is the intended meaning of the before and after and the graphic presentation there. Just a couple of quick pictures in the top here. As it says, it is the site looking generally southeast from the intersection. So this way, this is at the top half. This is Randolph here looking this way. As we come back down Randolph Road, this is looking across the property to the southwest. So it's a little further down the road here, and then let me get out of the way. This photograph right here is about halfway down the property because it's a very long north-south property. So this is looking back towards the top, and you can see the power lines right here, which is Randolph Road. looking from the location of Sierra Drive and Turquoise Trail there. So that is how the site looks currently. As we have had with some recent applications, the applicants have brought in additional information that are not necessarily required with the general plan amendment or with the rezoning, but we're very appreciative for them to share their vision with us. In this particular case, you can see a variety of a little bit of housing here, a very nice, evenly large distribution of open space in the green here, as might be envisioned for this particular piece of property. And for the units that are kind of shown there, some floor plans and some elevations, just as a conceptual. This is not by any means what would be there for sure, or it's an entirety, maybe a small piece of it. It's just designed to give an idea what it could potentially be. And as a reminder, any of this stuff would have to still come back before this body with a major general plan amendment. So this would come back before this body for that. So that is the basic graphics. I guess I could leave it here. The applicant, or applicants, I should say, are present in the audience, and they have been very active and actually come to many of our meetings for the city council and even come to observe some of our general plan stuff. So they're very much in tune with the committee, and they're available here to add additional commentary or answer questions that the committee or the commission might have. So,
Ken?
Phil, what is the density going to be on this unit? It looks like we're going to put 300 or 400 houses in that piece of land. Is that correct?
Commissioner Bolin, if it's okay, I'd like to have Doug, the applicant, approach the podium to answer your question.
Okay.
Yeah, right now the plan is like townhome type.
Can you get a little closer to it?
Yeah, right now the plan is like townhome type dwellings, and each home has its own garage. But the parameter for the transition, all of this around the parameter, is all single level, not two-story. This is all gated, so it's had a 6-foot block wall all the way around it. And then outside the wall, between the wall and the street, will be landscape. 6-foot buffer between the parameter wall and the street. We have, to answer your questions, I think the density on this is, was it 15? Right around 15. I think the zoning allows up to 18 or so. We planned it at 15 because it was important to us to have, we've got way more open space than what's required. We have way more parking than what's required by codes. And, but basically we have one bedroom on the duplexes on the parameter. We have 2 and 3 bedrooms on the interior.
Okay, so you're saying you're expecting 15 units per acre?
Yes.
Is that your expectation?
Yes.
Can you tell me what the density is across the street to the east of your property? Is that 4 or 5 units per acre?
In Twilight Trail, what's the average lot size? I think it's about, I have a number in that whole area of Twilight Trails. I believe there's 330 lots or so.
And so there's 330 in an area that is
I don't know the acreage size.
approximately, it looks to me, based on that map,
Maybe 60 acres.
probably 4 times the size of what you've got, I would guess, and you're going to put twice as many houses in 1/4 the space. That's what I'm looking at.
Yes.
And that's a lot of people in an area that has been considered rural residential for the last 80 years or so, since that was developed back in the 50s.
It is, but it's also, we're at, to do this community, it requires about 3.5 miles of infrastructure development of sewer.
Right, I hear that.
Which will open up a lot of areas.
What about, how
We're
about
servicing a
road?
lot of jobs south.
What about roads to Highway 87? Are you going to be involved in any road improvement? Is that part of the package you're
Yes.
offering?
Yes.
Is that the road? Because
It'll
that's
have to
going to
be as
be
part of it,
a
we
huge
assume that.
amount of traffic.
Yeah, no, we assume that responsibility. That's going to be
Because
part of
that's
it.
going to be 5 or 6 times the amount of traffic on that
both
road.
Randolph and on Sierra Drive.
And La Palma Road as well. La Palma Road is the one that is just to this side of
We hadn't
the
considered
Twilight
La
Trails.
Palma.
I'm just considering it
Yeah,
because I drive there all the time.
sure.
And I'm just trying to, I'm trying to look at the
We
people.
know that between us and the current city of Coolidge, and on agenda tonight also is another whole community plan between us and city of Coolidge and Brighton Village.
The Twilight Trails area has been upgrading itself for the last
Sure.
probably 5 to 8 years. It was in a
Yes.
real low part, probably 15. But they are definitely getting improvements all the time over there, newer houses and much improvement. Everybody's cleaning up their act out there.
Sure.
And it's going to really pressurize them to have that many houses, I would think. And that's what I'm talking to you two about is we're talking a lot of increased people.
Yes, and just, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Boland, Phil can kind of cover some of there are PADs north of this that abut this property and directly to the south that are already approved to be developed. So this is really, I know it sounds like it's an island on its own, but it's going to be connected to some other things. That's why we like the fact that putting a sewer line could potentially open up some more of that property. If they all partner together. So there's some real positives to working that area.
And with cost of building today, and it requires some density to put in this type of a facility to get a lower cost of rents, to be honest.
I'm trying, is these going to be sold or rented?
We'll serve water letter from Arizona Water Company.
So it's rentals.
These will be rental.
This quarter-mile buffer page that I have in front of me, I don't quite understand it because I'm not as smart as the rest of you. What does it mean? It's a quarter-mile buffer around your property is going to be what?
Well, we don't own that, but
Right.
we're just depicting what that is the current plan is on.
What does it mean by a
Commissioner Boland?
quarter-mile buffer?
What it means is, there was an example, there's a couple of pages within our general plan that say anytime that a major general plan amendment is proposed, that within a quarter mile of the subject property that's being proposed to be changed, it needs to have a relationship. In other words, you need to look at a quarter mile around it to see what the relationship is, which is part of what the report is written for as determining criteria. In this particular case, the area around it is about a quarter mile or a little more, but you can see the remaining land area around it. The land use there in the picture is much, much larger, so you can see a larger comparison of what's actually required, but this is literally following the example that has been put in our general plan for the last 10 years.
So it's really a before and after photo.
Yes.
So it's just saying, this is what's existing, this is what's proposed, and this is the difference in the zoning. So if you can see the yellow, the urban neighborhood doesn't change that, it's already existing. The thing it's changing is the subject property, which is becoming the same to match what's around it. Because the other portions that are in brown are rural ranchette under our code. So all we're doing is making it match what's to the north and what's to the south. So that's what that quarter mile buffer is showing you.
All the yellow area in here, it would be, under the current code, they would be able to put 15 units per acre density?
It depends on the zoning that's selected. All that does, it allows, in the general plan, it allows a wide variety of uses, including commercial, residential, all the way down to.
So what code are we putting on this?
Oh, that's the next item that'll come up. If you approve
The amendment that we're doing first is allowing what? What are we doing with that?
we're converting it from ag to a rural ranchette to urban neighborhood, which is like everything else around it. That's all it's doing. The
we're
next
doing
item
is-
that comes up, it will be the consideration of the zoning. And we're just doing them concurrently. We've done these before like this. Well, if you elect not to choose to do the general plan amendment, then the zoning could move forward.
It is currently rural ranchette, which is what Twilight Trails is. I see Twilight Trails does not show as rural ranchette. It shows as, not as urban currently that I'm
It's-
looking at.
Yeah, Twilight Trails looks like in our plan to be urban neighborhood.
Okay.
And then the bottom of it is rural ranchette, of that portion of it. So there's Twilight Trails, and then there's some like split lots down on the bottom of it. And those aren't part of Twilight Trails itself. They're part of the community.
I
but
know,
yeah,
they're south of Turquoise.
right. Yeah.
So they're south of Turquoise.
Right, just like the houses to the west, there's houses there that are kind of custom. They're nice homes, but they were split within the the ARS allowed 3 splits per property. The county allows 5.
Yeah. Once we get done with the part with us, I'd like to have it open to the public to see if there's anybody out here that lives anywhere around this thing to find out. I'd like to get their input before we make too much a decision.
That's part of the
what we're gonna
process.
do.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bolin and the commission. One other thing, Gilbert was making reference of a variety of zoning that could be within the urban neighborhood. The 2013 process that created our 2025 general plan previously had like 18 to 22 different land uses. It simplified it down to 6. And in each section, it actually provides specific zoning districts and other criteria as far like for design and guidance and understanding. The urban neighborhood allows like 9 or 10 different districts. In other words, basically the R1 through the R6, C1, 2, 3, and like an office district. So it's very wide ranging, but it's done that way on purpose to facilitate the way that the general plan is and almost be a PAD unto itself, even though it's just a land use.
Okay. That's my questions. I don't know if this man on the speaker has a question. Mr. Shane?
Shane?
Is this the transition you provided for me, Commissioner Holmes?
Yes, I want your input.
I can be very direct. And Phil went to what I was going to say, which is, well, I appreciate the fact that we have simplified down to 6 zoning designations. He expressed my exact concern with this, is there's no transitional zoning, at least from what I can see relative to what we've got going on. So the first question to staff is, how are we, and I'll use the word justifying loosely, because that's much stronger than the word I'm using. Putting in 3 times the density as to what is the east of it with very little it seems transitional zoning. That's an impact. So how are we addressing that, or what would we do in staff's opinion to help mitigate them? So Commissioner Boland may might want to hesitate which for this, but I got a very large concern with regards to taking this very intensive zoning and slapping it right next to my relations, potentially putting it right next to some existing uses. And that troubles me, particularly as a general plan, and that's what can happen in the zoning. But staff and speak to that, I appreciate it.
Commissioner Leonard, the transition is the buffers that are required by the zoning code. Landscaping, wall, some of those components are covered in the zoning portion of the zoning code. We've had this throughout. We had some others that we were looking at, some apartments over on Jefferson by the railroad tracks. We had some higher density. The lots behind it were 1 acre and low density just within the city. And so they proposed there was some buffers and then a step down in the height of the buildings where the ones right adjacent to the lower density were one story, and then they jumped to 2-story as they moved in the project. So there are transitional mitigations within the zoning code that deal with that. Now, it might not be as much as you'd like to see, but they're in there, and we've used them before throughout when we're looking at zonings like this that are next to existing ones that have been there for a long time. And in this case, we're matching the general plan to the north and to the south. And those will also be, when they develop those PADs, it's going to be the same issue. They've been approved already. So it's a matter of design and, yeah.
Mr. Chair, Gilbert, I appreciate where you're coming from, and I recognize what you're describing. You're describing physical aspects
Right.
to the project. I'm talking about using zoning as a buffer, and with respect, lowering it to, or potentially restrict, oh, we're only gonna have 1 level, but then right next to it infrastructure costs and road improvements relative to this project, if it was the only one that moved forward, how long would it languish potentially before they were actually able to get to a pricing point that would move the project forward?
Yeah, Commissioner Leonard, and that would be, the applicant would look at that, and then we have infrastructure going out there with the road improvements and other things. But the sewer line, if it pencils out, they look at the cost of the units per, that process. But when you're talking, going back to the transitional or the zoning, you're going back to how we had it before, that the general plan was actually a zoning code. It restricted everything, and you had to be, if you changed it to something, you had to go back through a process. It took a year, so it really slowed down development. I think, you were in Gilbert before, and that place is built out, and that's great when you're at that level, and the price of land is really high. When you're trying to grow and bring in modern infrastructure and more housing and options and things, I think that's why the general plan was simplified, as you mentioned, and the voters approved it. So going back to adding a lot of different categories under the general plan, I don't know that that's the way we want to go. Of course, if that's what you want to do and the council agrees with you, and the public does too, because they're the ones going to vote on it, then, that we'll certainly apply that. It's just that what we have now has been working, in our opinion, fairly well.
Gentlemen, Mr. Chair, I appreciate that comment, and you bring up the tangibility. I'm not suggesting that overcomplicating things relative to this particular plan or this particular request for zoning is always absolutely necessary. But when we start generalizing things, particularly on the south end, or for example, let's bring up Santa Monica, you have $1 million homes that were then subjected to somebody putting up a bowling alley because the zoning code didn't disallow for it. So we're talking about generalities. I'll try and bring it back to this particular subject. And the question or concerns that I may have had under the general plan, let's say, was to make that under zoning. But to clarify, under the current zoning, because I don't have the book with me, what's the density allowed for under the rural ranch zoning designation and general plan designation? I'll have to go down to the notes of it.
Commissioner, Phil's pulling that up on.
Just looking directly out of page 23, density, intensity under rural ranch calls out, as you might expect, 1 dwelling unit per acre. Now, here's what I'd say to that. This is not unlike agriculture. It's sort of like the holding district. I mean, agriculture is technically the real holding district, but it's designed to reflect what exists. So if there's houses out there, then it's reflective of that. If it's just a raw land piece that's always been farmed or desert land or back and forth like that, it kind of does and doesn't have that designation in a sense. Members of the commission, there is such a thing as transitional zoning. However, there is the bulk standards, which is height setbacks, that do provide a transition as well too, and that's what that does here. There's 1 story on the outside edges. There's actually a true landscape buffer, not necessarily backyards, but in an actual separate track. There are the backyards there as well too, but they serve as the distancing factor from the outside edges of the property itself. And further to that, just to add, even though this is the major general plan amendment, but the zoning coming up that they're going for is the R4. Under townhouse cluster, it says outdoor living area is to be required is 400 square feet per dwelling unit. So one way or another, some of the things that we're talking about here, when they were thinking about how they did the general plan and how the code existed, they were thinking about this very thing that we're discussing here. So they built the quality into the requirements, not only just through the general plan, but also through the zoning, even be an R4 district.
Mr. Leonard, I was looking at Twilight Trails, looks like the lots are between 5,000 and 7,000 square feet. Let's consider a 8 lots per acre. So 8 homes per acre. He is going to be building 15 houses per acre on this piece of land that's directly next to them. I'm with you in the fact that I think that is highly, that's really heavy and very intense to an area where people were buying 5 and 7,000 acre lots so they'd have some space, to have someone that's going to have lots that are going to be considerably smaller than that and much more dense. Probably close to twice the density of what they're used to out there.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Twilight Trails itself doesn't meet county standards as it is right now. It's general rural, I believe, and you require acre and a quarter. If those were built today, that's what they'd have to be. So these have been out there a long time. I was the chief zoning inspector for Pinal County, so I used to go inspect these. And right now, they're basically grandfathered in. They're substandard lots. I don't believe the zoning, which for the county zoning is GR, right? I think it's general rural. Yeah.
GR.
So
That's not a
yeah.
subdivision out there?
No,
It's platted, but it doesn't mean it complies with the current zoning. It was done back in the day before probably the county had the standard, but you can put in a subdivision and plat it. There probably wasn't a requirement that you had a 100-year water supply, all that. Arizona Water serves that area, I believe. They got water out there. So I just wanted to point out that what's out there now, and you have them all over the county. We had small developments that just didn't meet the standard, but they exist legally. You know, they can replace the units as long as they meet the setbacks. I think the county recently gave the community of Randolph a variance for all those lots that were in there. The county went through that process, and it was public, to have them comply with the setbacks and all that, because it was the same as here. They're non-compliant, but they legally exist. So you can compare that, but you're comparing something that doesn't comply with the county standards right now. So I just wanted to point that out.
Commissioner Baldwin, Mr. Chair, I appreciate that. Commissioner Baldwin, I appreciate you boiled it down. To be very blunt on this agenda item, I get very uncomfortable when we're putting both the general plan update the same time we're doing zoning. I don't think that gives us the ability to take time to make sure that what we believe should happen should go. And at least from my seat, while I might be convinced that a general plan update is appropriate for this property, I'm entirely uncomfortable saying yes with an immediate follow-up with zoning for triple density of use. That's my biggest concern that we have to do right now.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, and Commissioner Boland, thank you for that comment. And we've done it, Pat, doesn't mean we can continue to do it. And what we could do, and this is up to you, I'm just offering it as an option. If you're inclined to agree and pass the general plan amendment, you could table the zoning to give you time to look at the impact and then bring it back up at a later meeting, if you so choose. I'm just offering that up, as an alternative to give you time to think about the zoning if you.
Did you hear that, Shane?
Yes, sir, I did. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay. Gilbert, do you have anything else you want to add first?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, no, I believe Phil's looked at it, Reed's looked at it, Rick's looked at it, and we feel comfortable with it from a staff level. But like you said, if you want to, if you agree with the concept of the general plan, but because it has a lot of different classifications and densities, then you can table the item that follows it if you want. You don't have to, but I'm just saying if that's a concern, then that it's right on its heels, that's an option. But that's all I have at this point. Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
This is a public hearing, and Anyone within 300 feet? Anyone? Okay. I just wanted to clarify which category we were going to work with.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, because it is a general plan amendment,
Okay,
it's going through a different process, so you're right. Normally, if it was a conditional use, 100 feet, but since it's a general plan amendment, it's open.
okay. So this, I'm going to open the meeting to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this general plan amendment, please come to the microphone, give your name, address, and tell us what you think. Okay?
Good evening. I am Zach Harris. I live at 4314 North Loring. Yeah, so I actually would be located right around here. All of the properties that are along this road are at least 1.25 acres. Every house has at least 1.25 acres. So from this picture, we'd be looking at up here, we have a couple hundred houses over about 60 acres, as you're saying. Here, we have half of that with 300 houses. And we have a 1-lane going each direction road all the way down Randolph. Can you go to, oh, actually, so here at this location, there's one trailer that lives right here that takes up this area. Over here, there's about 2 houses in this entire area. And then everything south of this is completely empty. So we're going from a relatively desolate area where people have plenty of space to extraordinarily packed at 15 houses per acre, 15 times the size of this, and double the size of that, or double the density, right? So double the density, 15 times the density. And that property is a stone's throw away from my property. I can walk 15 feet across the road and be at the back of this property. I'd also like to point out that no houses in this entire area have a brick wall. It's going
all
to be
open.
completely out of space.
Okay?
Would you say you're in favor of this development or not in favor of this development?
I would have to say not.
Okay.
It's a huge density change for what we're used to. The population change is going to be insane. We have homeowners that are all Casa Grande, now going to be filled with renters that are Coolidge in, 15 times the density. And we're talking, people chose to spend over $500,000 on houses right here to get away from exactly this. People got houses just this year, almost $400,000 to get away from this. That's where I'm at.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything that I missed?
Anyone else? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Public's discussion is closed. Anyone up here have anything else to say before we call for a vote? Nope. Okay. someone would so do it, I would appreciate a motion to approve the general plan amendment. And then we can discuss the next section.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Cool PZ 230624, a major general plan amendment switching from rural ranchette to urban neighborhood for the 31 acres listed here in APN 401-25-003B, which will make it conform with the area around it.
Can I have a second?
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye. All against? Was that an aye or a nay?
If you're Commissioner Leonard votes aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Cool PZ 230624, general plan amendment has been approved. Next order of business. Cool PZ 230623, a rezoning application for Stonemaster Imports Incorporated to change the zoning designation of agricultural zoning district to a multifamily R4 zoning district on approximately 31 acres at the intersection of Randolph Road and Sierra Drive, APN number 401-25-003B.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this is the item that follows is rezoning application requested by the applicant, and this would change the zoning from when it's annexed. We usually bring it in as ag, so it has to be the compatible zoning of the county. So we're proposing here, once this is annexed, then we would change it with this action to R4, which is allows the type of density that was discussed for apartments and multifamily type projects, duplexes, that type of thing. And so, Phil, Phil can, if your pleasure, Phil can kind of cover
Bill?
the zoning.
Basically, since we kind of went over the same material, I'll just kind of cover it very quickly here. This is for the rezoning from ag to R4 for the 31 acres. This is our site exhibit showing its current location in Maricopa County, designated areas of the city of Coolidge around it. General plan exhibit. You know what?
He meant Pinell.
Oh,
said
did I do it again?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. One time I was working at a radio station and it was a different one than what I grew up with, and I opened up the mic and I said the wrong caller, so I'm sorry.
It's okay. We can
Anyway,
live with it.
so this is our general plan amendment here, the designation calling it out as rural ranchette, our zoning here being in the county currently, Pinal County, general rule, and once again the same photographs, two from the corners of Randolph looking to the south, this one from Sierra and Turquoise looking back towards Randolph, and the same exhibit that we had before and the examples of the elevation. So I will leave it there and we'll go on with the discussion.
Okay. Since this is the same thing, I'm not going to open this to the public. I'm going to just call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chair, if I might, since this was noticed in it is agendized as a public hearing, I would still see if there's someone from the public here.
Okay,
In the event.
thank you.
And then if there is a motion to table or continue this item, I would also recommend that that motion contain continuing this public hearing to the next meeting.
10-4, gotcha. Okay, Public hearing. Anybody that wants to speak on the rezoning application, Cool PZ 230623, please come to the mic. Okay? Public hearing is closed. Could I have a motion to table with the stipulation that the public hearing carries over to the next time it's brought up?
Mr. Chairman, I move Cool PZ 230623 be denied.
Second, Commissioner Lemming seconds the motion.
Okay? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Got it. Cool PZ 230623 is denied. Cool PZ 230617, a major general plan amendment requested by the city of Coolidge, Arizona to expand its planning area boundary by changing the land use designation of rural ranchette to industrial and manufacturing on 937.6 gross acres as generally located within an area bounded by Hannah Road to the north, Fast Track Road to the east, Shed Road to the south, and Vale Road to the west, also located within portions of Township 7, Range 8 of Section 14 and 23, AP numbers 401-48022F, 022G, 022H, 022J, 022K, 037B, and 401-520010, 002B, 002C, 002D, 0030, 004D, 004G, 004H, 004K, 004L, 004M, 004N, 004P, 005B, 005C.
He said it was actually 937.
005E, 008C, 008D, 009A, 009B, 0010, and 0110. Gilbert.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this is a proposal to change the general plan as we have it, which is rural ranchette, into more the industrial to match IPAS. Because what we're seeing is that, and we've talked to all the landowners in the area, we just recently annexed the canal and then the property to the north, and then the rest of it we'll look at. We may come up with a PATA, pre-annexation development agreement with some of the landowners there, and then before it comes in for the rest of the property for annexation. But right now, all we're doing is changing the general plan from rural ranchette to manufacturing to match IPAS. We believe there's a need for that. We're worried, Procter & Gamble going in, Nikola, eventually we could run out of land. And so this gives the landowners the opportunity, if they so choose, to come into the city. There's no water out there as far as for residential, and nobody that I talk to plans to build houses out there. They don't want to. They bought it for investment because of Nikola and Procter & Gamble and some other projects that are planned in the area. And then they can be served with global water. Their campus is right where Erica, that circle is. It's right there. That's where the future water campus for this whole area will be. And it can serve areas right there to the east. So that's why we're proposing to change this in this area. And everything further to the east, I believe, is state land. There's a little bit of private land to the north, but I have no opposition from anybody. This is because we looked at annexing this like And 3 years in a row, we finally got it in on the canal side. So everything to the north, the only place it could go is either stay in the county or come into the city. And that's how it was designed. And so that's all it is. And I don't know, Phil, you got anything else to add to that?
No, only just to call out that this first exhibit, this was just the site exhibit of the subject area. And then the next exhibit here, that's the existing land use and the proposed, showing the coloration of the two before and after. And then within the little hatched area down below there is the
Right, to the bottom is there's some unincorporated Pinal County, and then, of course, City of Eloy to the south in some areas. And so where this really helps is there's some, believe it or not, projects that come along, and they can be like high-tech manufacturing or some, but they have to be a mile away from the rail. And the Union Pacific runs right there, parallel to 87. So when you look at iPads itself, there's nowhere that, there are some slithers there that might be a mile away, but they're not, because they don't want the vibration from the train. Believe it or not, they need to be at least a mile away. So this would allow those type of projects that, to come into this area if they so choose. We would certainly have a place that we could offer up through the landowner, which is St. Holdings. And we would support that because we get a lot of products coming in still that we're under NDAs we can't talk about. But this would allow us to bring in more projects that maybe can't be as close to the rail or just can be. And this isn't St. Holdings land. This is other land, so it could be a different park name. It could be. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be part of St. Holdings or iPad, but it can be, iPads East, whatever the landowners decide. So anyway,
Okay.
that's our proposal.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
would this land under the industrial and manufacturing zoning allow for the installation of solar units to collect solar energy under this industrial and manufacturing zoning?
Yes, if it was zoned that way, because this is just general plan. It's not, you're not
Right,
setting
but-
zoning. This is
But
just allows.
under the general plan, we do allow solar in industrial and manufacturing areas, correct?
Yes, in industrial zoning, solar is allowed. It's left in there, yeah. Yes.
But
But
it
it would
has,
still, yeah.
has to be within the solar zoning.
Yeah, yeah, we'd have to look at that and, because we actually restricted the zoning to the overlay. So we'd have to look at if the solar was for, say, a business that required, there have been some that we look at that they say, we want to build here, but we want to add, we're a green company, we want to add 1,000 acres of solar with it. And sometimes we say, well, there's nowhere we have that. But in this case, there may be one that and would it require conditional use? In manufacturing? No, it's just allowed, right? Yeah, I'm just clarifying if if it requires a conditional use or not, but that would be the zoning part of it.
Does that require conditional use to put?
We're checking in, but right now, all we're talking about is just a general.
Right, I know that, but I'm just wondering if we're changing it to that, are we allowing and opening up a door that we're not thinking about right now? That's why I want to know, is that door being opened?
The current iPads, if that's the case, would allow it, but I think the property value is so high because we're limited as to how much industrial manufacturing we have.
Okay.
I don't know that anybody would. I2? Yes, so in I2, it would allow, but it'd have to be conditionally permitted, so it would have to come back here.
Okay, it is a conditional use thing, all right.
In I2,
That's
if
what
it's
I
on,
need to know.
yes. Yeah, and I think that's the way we left it, but you're right, it's not in the overlay, so that would be another consideration.
Okay.
Shane, do you have any questions?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I don't. I think the question I heard earlier, I looked at the overlay zone regarding solar because I know that continues to be of concern to a number of citizens. So we took a look at that. One of the things that, to Gilbert's point, the staff's point, that would probably make it disadvantageous for this particular area, at least now, that if they were on that comment. I don't have any questions for staff or the project at this time. Thank you.
Okay.
Public comments.
Public comments. Is anybody from the public who would like to speak?
Good evening, Chairman Metcalf, Commissioners. My name is David Mallitz. I'm the City of Eloy, 595 North C Street, Eloy 85131. I'm hoping to just educate tonight and bring up that maybe something that might have been missed. If you don't mind if I approach the screen and kind of use
No,
this.
go right ahead. Take the mic with you.
Thank you. So what Mr. Lopez did not mention in his speech about where this goes is the city's planning boundary goes up to the canal. And that has been the way for many, many years. There's been a gentleman's agreement that the Eloy planning boundary goes up to the canal, Coolidge planning boundary goes to the canal forward. We just recently saw that there was the approval to annex this USA property here with the Bureau of Reclamation. We would have opposed that had we known more thoroughly that that was happening. So that happened, it's done, you know, we're doing what we can. But here tonight, our goal is to hopefully showcase you guys that this has been a gentleman's agreement. We've held it for many, many years. We've stayed below the canal. Coolidge has stayed above the canal, but yet now we see the city of Coolidge planning area. I have some maps prepared that our GIS coordinator put together that I could want that shows you where those boundaries lie, our city limits, additionally with our city planning in conjunction with your city limits and your planning boundary. So tonight, we would respectfully request that the Planning and Zoning Commission would amend the general plan amendment to include this to be above the canal. So we can retain our planning boundary down here. That's been like that for a very, very long time. Be happy to answer any questions. If you want to see the map, I have the map that I can distribute to you all.
I want to hear what Mr. Gilbert's got to say.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we have talked to the city manager. Thank you for being here. And Rick Miller, myself, and some others, we were committed to not annexing the bottom piece. Of course, the landowners are the ones that decide. That's why we go after some of the properties, because they petition us to do that. Now, we talked about not taking in that corner, the bottom right side, that's private. And because of it's in Eloy's planning area, but the reason it's squared off up there, and I think is that is land that's owned by the CAP. I think it's the way it is, and it comes out square. So for us to go, the state's not, or I think it's federal. They're not going.
It's BOR, and we
Yeah.
did speak to the.
I don't know if they would split their piece of land, into. So it can't be used by us or Eloy or anybody. That property belongs to the canal. So we just followed the boundaries of the canal to take in the canal and then the properties to the north. And then we'll proceed to take in more that want to come into the city because of what we talked about. But we do not plan at this point to take in the portion to the bottom right that is in Eloy's planning area. They overlap. There's a lot of that happens throughout with Florence and some with Casa Grande and others where the boundaries, they overlap sometimes. So it's
not in this case.
Yeah, but
We had the same discussion with the DMA. When you
Yeah,
guys proposed to expand your DMA boundary, you proposed to expand it within our district, Florence district.
right, which is
All three entities
Right.
opposed that and put that forth, and you guys had to amend it with CAG.
and that's a different
But you're
issue.
still
Yeah. So I
expanding.
mean, when you say gentleman's agreement, it's not in writing. And the people who created that, it's like a lot of agreements. I was at the county in the '80s, and it was like, okay, we have this gentleman's agreement, but the landowners are the ones that decide where they want to go. So I mean, we respect your
Landowners
opinion.
didn't approach
and-
you for the annexation.
Yeah.
That was federal land. We talked to the BOR representative at the League of Cities. He was not made aware by the city of Coolidge that was Eloy planning area. Our planning director at the time spoke with him personally. And then we went through a major general plan amendment recently with the state to push our planning boundary all the way to the mountain. We notified you and the city manager at that time of that. You and I had a personal discussion of that in this spring, that you were aware and you had seen our general plan. with respect, I have not received a phone call from City Manager Rick Miller or yourself to discuss the major general plan amendment and you extending your planning boundary into ours. That's why I'm here today, is those discussions have not occurred to us. So with respect, that's why we're here saying, please pull your boundary up to acknowledge that our planning boundary is the canal and put that in the major general plan amendment.
Yes, the area we annexed is already past where it can be, I mean, it exists. It's past the time of, uh, of somebody opposing it. And like I said, we agreed to not take in that 8-acre private property. That land that's over there in the little diagonally striped area is not buildable by us or Eloy. So changing and opening up the annexation again by, I don't know if we, yeah, I don't know that Rick's in favor of doing that. We can bring it up, but I mean, this is the general plan that just oversees that portion of it. I don't know that we would change it. We're not going to next to the bottom of that right corner. We agree to that. We talked to you about that.
Just so I can clarify.
Yeah.
You mean, you're talking about this area right here, correct?
Right.
This box, this is an area that you would not annex in. And you would put that in writing, so that we wouldn't have a gentleman's agreement. It would be an in-writing statement to the city of Eloy that the city of Coolidge would not annex this piece of property. Does that
I
understand that
think we're
correctly?
just getting, I think we're just getting off topic. Right here, we're here for an agenda item that is a major general plan amendment. Discussions of annexations are getting way off topic for this public meeting.
You're correct, and that's why I'm stating, I want the city of Eloy is looking to get this major general plan amendment amended so that it does not include anything south of the canal. I understand that
And
this is,
that is a fine request. You start talking about gentleman's agreement about de-annexation possibly and all this, that is not agendized. We can't.
To table it?
No.
No, I think what he is saying is he wants that piece
Right.
removed from the major general plan. I think that is perfectly fine for discussion tonight. It's talks about the annexation that are not agendized that we should not be discussing.
yes, that is correct. Thank you, Mr. Cook. That is what I was intending, is that the major general plan amendment be revised to not include this portion down here. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, you're going to close the public meeting?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Leonard, trying to build some, maybe a couple of quiet there. To clarify, the gentleman's agreement, whatever we're calling it, does that contain the formal document that was presented to us? I thought I heard something about here's a map or here's some information.
No.
Obviously not being there, are we presented with anything that says here's something signed?
No.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that. I also appreciate the comments, just wanted to clarify what we thought we were looking at. Thank you.
May I ask another question? Chairman Metcalf, or? I just wanted to, is the Planning and Zoning Commission aware of where the planning boundaries are for Eloy? Have you guys ever been presented a map from the staff that shows you where our lie in relation to the city?
I can answer that question right now. Not since I've been on the commission, and I've been here well, you've been here a year longer than I have, right?
Yep.
Okay, and you've never seen a map, have you?
I know generally what they were, but I've been here for years that those things, and those are fluctuating, and they've been moving for years.
Absolutely.
So
No.
they are, the original boundary was 11 Mile Corner Road.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
As I said, I have copies if you're interested.
Well,
No, thanks.
okay.
Okay.
We'd like to have that.
Okay, I'll leave it up for
Yeah. Anything else to discuss with the
close the public.
Public hearing is closed.
Oh.
Oh, one more? Okay. Sorry about that.
Good evening. My name is Dan Snyder. I live at 5254 North Arrowhead Drive in Ely. I'm also a member of City Council. I've been on council for, I guess, 7 years. Part of that was a member of Planning and Zoning. And so I guess I'm aware kind of what's happened here. I guess I'm a little, not surprised, but disappointed that your Planning and Zoning was not presented with what the adjacent boundaries for adjacent cities were. Normally, when I was on planning and zoning for Eloy, as we were doing things like this, we were very much aware of what the adjoining cities, where their boundaries were, what actions we were taking. We reached out to them, had discussions with them before we did something. So I guess in hindsight, looking what happened here, it caught us by surprise in Eloy. And having been on planning and zoning and now on council, it puts a little bit of, I don't say distrust, but a little bit of cautiousness in our part now, because what's next? You know, the gentleman's agreement, okay, I can see that, but there are maps in the GIS of what the planning areas are. And so that apparently was not discussed properly to even consider the fact that this was encroaching on the Eloy planning area to even have some discussion on it. So I guess that's the point I want to make.
Okay, I got one thing to say about this. The planning or Eloy city limits was very well defined
Sure.
where the truck plant was built.
Yes. Yes.
And if anybody thought about it, you might have asked, you know, is this all the way out? But I personally thought that the boundary was right down the middle of the road, all the way out, clear to the canal.
Okay. But we're talking about the other side of Canana.
Yeah. And, you know, nobody had said anything any different than that.
Yeah.
So and that's still further south than where we're at now.
Well, for the city limits, correct, but not the planning area.
Well, the planning area, yeah, I know that, but the city limits, you know, was right on that center of that road. And I realize now that there's a lot more involved in the planning area.
Yeah. For instance, if I turn the tables and say, okay, Eloy decided to expand annex into the Coolidge planning area, and we just went ahead and did it, wouldn't there be some, I guess, noses out of joint or something because you weren't discussed, or it just happened because I could see on Florence Avenue some areas that could happen very easily.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess I just want to bring that up, a little bit of surprise this happened, the fact that maybe it wasn't properly presented to yourselves where the planning areas were for you
We're
to
getting
consider it.
we're getting out into the sticks now.
Agreed.
That's where the problem is arising, is we're getting out into the sticks.
Yeah. And
Trying to beat each other up out in the sticks.
We are an area though too, if you look at what's happening with Phoenix and coming around both sides of we're under pressure from everybody we've got land and they're looking at it. And so I agree with that.
Well,
Thank you.
okay. Anybody else from the public want to speak? Public hearing is closed. Any other questions up here? Bill? Anybody?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
to clarify the staff, my apologies, may have been two different things. conversation with the city of Eloy or their staff about the agenda item this evening? And if so, what was the result of that? Or conversely, did we, I'm looking for clarification on when we met, if we met, what the result of that was.
We notified, we sent out notices to all that's legally required when we started the 6-day period, July, let's see, so, and then we published in the Casa Grande Dispatch, September 14th, 2023, but we have not had specific conversations about this, because it's within our planning area, so we did not have conversation. We had conversation with Eloy about that piece on the bottom, and that's with the city manager Miller and all that. So I can go back and talk to Rick and see if he's wanting to provide something in writing as the city manager asked, that we won't take that annexation into that piece on the bottom. And see if he's willing. We verbally stated that, so we can probably see if we can follow that up.
Was the portion that's under discussion up to the canal discussed at the same time, or was that just left open?
No, because it was just the annexation, this is general plan. So they can overlap, but I mean, generally we try not to do that, but they have in the past. That doesn't have any effect on the annexation or the zoning. So somebody could come in and say, I'm gonna apply my general plan over the top of your city limits. Legally, you can't do anything with that. You can't change the zoning in another city.
Yeah.
So the city boundary stops that. So, we're looking at annexing to stop because of iPads. I would think Eloy would look at doing similar things with industrial to the bottom if I were them. That's what I would do, but I mean, that's up to them how they plan their land use. But they've stated they'd like to keep the area south because that's where the general agreement was. And so we looked at that piece, the 80 acres, and of course, the landowner's the one. If we say we're not going to annex, and the landowner says, well, I don't want to go in Eloy either, then it just stays county. And nobody takes it. And I don't know if they can get access to water. I don't know if Eloy can bring water up to that property. I don't know if they have anything close by where we have, water and everything else there with Global and sewer. So, I mean, but to get along with our neighbor, of course, we talked about leaving that piece out, that 80 acres.
Okay.
We don't believe we could split the CAP cap property because it's nobody, we can't do anything with it, neither can Eloy. It's not available for development to either of us. So it just comes with the canal. They own that piece. So that's why we took it in like that.
Okay.
All right, have we already annexed this property, or are we in the process of annexing this property?
No, the canal and everything is annexed.
What we're about to talk about, or this request that we're doing now, is already been annexed, it's part of the city of Coolidge?
No, just the canal portion of it with the stripes, that's in the city. The property to the north, we have to develop a pre-annexation development agreement probably with the landowners before they come in. We haven't started that process or anything, but like I said, the property to the south, we haven't annexed it. That's still out there in county.
Okay.
That 80 acres, we're not planning to annex that.
Now, explain the crosshatched area that's underneath the canal.
That's the property the canal sits on. That's owned by the CAP.
That's all CAP land there.
Yes, the canal owners, yeah. The entity that owns the canal owns that. They don't just take in the canal. If you look at different areas throughout, they take in property based on how the state laid it out. So I didn't bring that because that's annexation, so that's already taken place and it's done. Right.
This area right here, all this.
Yes. That's in.
Eloy is saying is in there.
No, there's a canal that runs right through that, and they're saying south of that canal is the gentleman's agreement that we weren't going to go south. But what we did is we annexed the canal, but that property that's in that hatched area is where the canal is located. So the federal government, the state, whatever, doesn't.
This is federal land, right?
Yeah, it's owned by, well, it's owned by the canal. The people, the entity that owns the canal owns that, all those parcels of land.
Mr. Chair, to clarify that, the property that the Central Arizona Project Canal sits on is owned by the federal government through trust action by the Bureau of Reclamation.
Right.
So just to clarify, that exists both for the Central Arizona Project Canal as well as the San Carlos Irrigation and Drainage District Canal. So they do not get involved, and there is no approval process for general plan zoning or anything like this. They're the biggest and best, and I'll say my other comments, but it's owned federally. You have to go meet.
Right, now, I don't understand what the city of Eloy wants us to stay away from the canal for. When they can't have it, we can't have it, because it belongs to the federal.
Yes, and we'll look at that bottom, the 80 acres, and look at potentially putting something in writing that we're not going to attempt to annex that part. We're going to the north of what we've already annexed. So, but we're talking annexation now, not general plan.
I know.
So we got.
I want to get this, I want to understand what we're discussing. Okay.
Certainly. Thank you, Commissioner, members of the commission. Just to clarify again and to stay away from the annexation, I know Mr. Cook is probably wiggling in his chair.
Yeah, you guys worry about that later.
Yeah.
But
So, like what was said, this is done. That's over. What we are covering tonight is that this part, and what we understand is that Coolidge is going to look into, Gilbert's going to talk to Rick Miller about whether or not Coolidge is going to write a letter to say we won't annex this portion, which is privately owned. What we're coming to as the city of Eloy was twofold: to just make sure that we informed you guys of where the planning area was, our planning area in relation to what's being discussed in the major general plan amendment, like me and Councilmember Snyder were doing and what the map shows. And then to ask you if the commission would amend the general plan amendment to not include any more encroachment into our planning area. Is that how you guys understood it too?
Okay, question for you.
Sure.
If the committee approves this plan and makes this part of our general plan amendment, what bearing does that have on the town of Florence? Or the
Eloy.
city- Or Eloy, I'm sorry.
Eloy?
Because you don't have to pay any attention to our amendments as far as what our plan is for it, our general plan. And then you and the city of Eloy and the city of Coolidge can work out whatever they want on that at a later date. Is that not correct?
Part of it is correct, yes.
What part is not correct?
Sorry, allergies are killing me. It's that time of year. As far as, working it out, yeah, we'll do what we can. We want to be good partners with the city of Coolidge and any of our neighbors, city of Casa Grande, Florence.
Hey, the city of Coolidge and the city of Eloy are mated. There is no way around it.
Oh, yeah.
And what happens in Coolidge is going to affect Eloy, and what happens in Eloy, people are going to live in Coolidge at work at the new gypsum plant.
Yep.
If the very few that work there. But there's going to be, there's no argument really when you get down to it, because we bump up against each other all the way across, all the way around. There's no way around it. We're going to bump heads.
Oh, yeah, we're neighbors.
Yeah.
We want to work together. We want to be neighborly.
That's
And that's
exactly
where
right.
where we keep going back with this gentleman's agreement. Nothing was ever put in writing, as you said.
Now, gentleman's agreement
Yeah.
in today's world
Things
doesn't
change.
count no more.
Yeah, no, the cocktail, and those don't work anymore. But we generally still try to adhere to that, whether it's in writing or not. And to your point, things do change, maps change along the way. So, and we'll respect that as those
Yes.
change. But at this point, we're trying to maintain that boundary that we've had for all these years, where we canal as that boundary. So we doing our long-range planning that will eventually move the city of Eloy out towards the mountain. like when we just did our major general plan amendment to extend it out that way. I mean, that's our plan. We want to come out and we want to be able to develop this. We want to have that delineation point where, you know, when folks are in Eloy, we're like, hey, Eloy is south of the canal, Coolidge is north of the canal. Easy for people to understand at that point, and it makes sense when you're building neighborhoods and establishing communities. People know where they live. They can create that identity. I'm north of the canal, I'm in Coolidge. Anything south of the canal, you're in Eloy. So that's what we're trying to be respectful of by being here today, is just making sure those unwritten rules stay in place for the time being, and that we can agree that moving that up and being respectful with the amendment will.
I thought we were in a problem right there, and we're not, so we're okay.
With the annexation?
Yeah.
The only problem with the annexation is it did go into our property and we didn't get notified. That was where we got heartburn, is we didn't get reached out to on that. And that's where tonight, that's why we're here. It's like, okay, we didn't get the respect to be a phone call, a discussion that was gonna happen. And then we saw this, so we thought, let's come to planning and zoning. Let's try to clear some air. Let's figure things out and have a talk.
Okay,
Yeah,
we did,
we did. Thank
and we
you.
made progress.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Boland, do you have something
Oh,
for me?
I just want to stop talking about things that are not part of this agenda.
Perfect. Okay, respectfully, thank you.
My coach back over here is smiling at me for saying the right thing for a
He's
change.
like, will that guy please stop talking? Thank you, Mr. Cook, for your patience.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Public portion's closed. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve Cool PZ 230617.
Second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard votes aye with the respectful request that for future instances like this, we send a letter to our neighbors to the south. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. Cool PZ 230617, a general plan amendment, is passed. Next item of business, Cool PZ 230729, a general plan amendment requested by Hilgart Wilson Engineering on behalf of Carden Hyatt Investments, Cameron McDonald, Carden Bowden Investments, LaSure Investments, and Anderson Capital Partners by changing 330 acres of land within the Brighton Village pad from urban neighborhood, 325 acres, and rural ranchette, 5 acres, to 260 acres of industrial and manufacturing, 65 acres to business and commerce, and 5 acres to urban neighborhood, as located generally southwest of the intersection of Windsor Road and Highway 287, or Highway 87, Arizona Boulevard, including changes to internal major and minor arterial roadways and individual residential densities to specific parcels and to the overall residential density of the Brighton Village pad.
Talk to us about the major.
APN numbers
PAD
401-21-016F, 015E, 068F, 069E, 068E, 068G,
Just changing the land use.
Go.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is a pretty exciting project for us because it changes some and updates some of the land uses in this area, including adding some, I believe, some industrial or light industrial to some portions of it. So Phil will kind of cover what this is. And remember, the buffer is just that we show what's around it and then what's proposed. So Phil, take it away.
I'll keep it pretty basic here because there's several representatives of the applicant here, and they have actually provided similar materials, and so they can call out a little more about the designations that they've been talking with us about all summer long here. Basically, we've got the primary area here, about 325 acres, a small 5-acre section down here, which is basically we'll call cleanup, is a good phrase for it. Just using some of the graphics they provided. Once again, the buffer area is supposed to be a 1/4 mile. That's a consideration to identify what the land use is so that it's being inventoried. Once again, we have a larger picture here so we can see the regionality of it. This stuff that's going to be actually going to the fuchsia, whatever color it is, pink, with some orange here. That has everything to do with its proximity to I-87. Boy, wouldn't that be great? Highway 87. And here's our smaller piece here for the quarter-mile section there. And they technically are about the same line here, but just to show that that's where they were. So here's our existing and proposed. They have a similar aspect to that. So let me dial up their information here. And at that particular time, we're available for questions further from the commission, from staff, but the applicant is here and available for their portion of it as well.
Okay.
It doesn't work with that because it's a PDF. Yeah.
Good evening. Sorry. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Joseph Vance. I'm with Hilgart Wilson. We represent the owner, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Ken, you got questions?
Not yet, but I will. Wait a minute.
Give you a minute.
Yeah, so the exhibits we provided here are just to provide a little bit more context. So we provided the vicinity map, the existing zoning of the site. This is the existing Brighton Village PAD. And what we're doing is we are looking to amend the 330 acres includes 260 acres at the northwest corner. If you could go to.
You can take the mic and go over there if you want to, then you can.
Sorry. So this is an existing PAD, and what we're doing is we are amending the 330 acres total. We've got 260 acres that are going to industrial and manufacturing, and we're doing a little bit of cleanup right here. In the future, we'll be submitting a PAD amendment to amend the land uses in support of this general plan amendment, and we will be amending this to allow for industrial manufacturing general plan land uses, and then we will follow up with the PAD amendment to support that. So up here, we'll have about 65 acres designated for business and commerce general plan land use, and then we're just providing some cleanup right here for these 5 acres to re-include them in the PAD and bring them up to speed with the surrounding urban neighborhood designation.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason that we have planned it this way is we have the future McCartney Road, which is designated by the city as a future major east-west principal arterial road. So given the intersection of the future McCartney Road and SR 87, which is also planned as a future principal arterial road, we have business and commerce uses at this southwest corner. And then we have the industrial here to take advantage of the proximity to SR 87 and the railroad. And again, we'll just be cleaning up the land uses over here to match the surrounding designations. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
So what you're changing this to is, and for just a second. Changing it into industrial and manufacturing?
It will be 260 acres of industrial manufacturing, 65 acres of business and commerce at the intersection of the future McCartney Road and SR 87, and then 5 acres of cleanup down there at the northwest corner of La Palma Road and Randolph Road to urban neighborhood.
And the rest of that area is still urban neighborhood, the rest of all your PAD is?
Correct. Correct. These are all contained within the Brighton Village PAD. We'll be processing an amendment with the city here in the next few weeks, which in that case, we will be back in front of you to have more specific land uses intended for the site and things of that nature.
Believe it or not, I don't have any more questions. First time tonight.
Shane, do you have any questions?
No, sir. Mr. Bowles, I think it was Commissioner Bowles, asked clarification of the questions I was going to, so I'm good at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions up here? Nope. Anybody from the public like to speak? Come to the podium. There being none? Public is closed.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Cool PZ 230729.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Cool PZ 230729. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Cool PZ 230729 is passed. Okay, you ready, Phil?
Yes.
Cool PZ 230836. A conditional use permit application requested by James Jackson on behalf of the estate of Lucarine Jackson for a group home within the multifamily residential R3 zoning district of 394 West Walton Avenue, Coolidge, Arizona. APN number 205-03-3340. Director Lopez.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we have a request, as you stated, for a use permit. We've been working with Mr. Jackson for a while to get the application in, and they've done some changes to the property so it's compliant with the minimum standards for a group home, and they can explain what they want to do as they did with us. So we have the conditions that apply to all conditional use permits are in here, and they go through, let's see. So they're all listed, and it's got the maximum number under staff recommendation of people, and I think Ms. Jackson's aware of that. And just applying for and complying with all licensing and site requirements by the Arizona Department of Health Services is who covers this. And Phil, do you want to?
Yeah, just the basic bullet points. Here's our site exhibit location. You can see it at Walton and 4th Street. General plan exhibit, as most of the area around the subject site is urban neighborhood. And the conditional use permit request for zoning is the entire area is within the R3 zoning district. A couple quick pictures. This is the site looking generally southeast from 4th Street, West Walton, right over here. This next picture to the right is just kind of sliding down the street a little bit, but looking up this way towards the site. 4th Street here, West Street over here. Coming in front of the building right here, looking directly at the structure from West Walton. 4th Street now over here, and then finally sliding a little bit over this way further so that we're looking northwest from West Walton, 4th Street over here. As Gilbert mentioned, in the many months that we've been talking with Mr. Jackson and stuff, he's been very forthcoming with his information and his intention from some of his experiences, his mother's life's work, and the services and things that she did that are kind of a strong motivation of the characteristics of why he wants to undertake this use. And he was nice enough to share this flyer with us. That's in each of the packets of the commission members here. And then at the same time, too, he provided some other exhibits to us. This is going to be a combination of things kind of showing where obviously the fire evacuation and fire extinguishers are and stuff. But most importantly, this kind of gives us an idea of how the, 1,600 square feet is going to be staged. It's about there. I forget where it is. It's with, 1,530, which is important for us to know that. Gilbert had talked about, we'd also mentioned to him originally it had been a not dustless surface. So we had talked to him about a concrete or an asphalt surface. He'd actually gone ahead and done this portion as concrete. In the report, it's called out that it needs to be finished off right to the actual hard surface of the street so that aggregate material does not go out into the paved street, that portion of it. And that is part of the report here. So all things equal, Mr. Jackson is here. He can answer any of your additional questions. And like I said, he's been a very good person to work with on this. Yes.
Phil, can I see pictures of the exterior of the house again, please?
Sure. Now, these are a little bit older than the picture that he provided that showed the driveway improvement. So
The reason I'm looking at the windows, there appears to be only one exit from this house by door. All the other things are windows. And I don't know how big the windows are. You have 3 occupants. If there was a emergency in this house, are those openings large enough for people to, are they under code, which I believe is so many square feet that they need to be a code?
Yes, sir, it is. My name is James Jackson. I stay in Gilbert, Arizona.
Okay?
I was a resident of Coolidge for many years. We had all those doors wide.
All, in the bedroom doors widened?
Yes, everything
Yes.
that needed to be widened, it was
The
wide.
question is, why is there no exterior exits except the front door?
There is in the back.
It doesn't show here on this map. On this plan, it doesn't show, it shows one door in this house.
Okay, you see where this fence is right here?
I do.
Right here is a back door, the side door. That's
Is
the
it
washroom.
right here?
And the washroom has a window, but it has a door or a window in it.
Look right there by the picture. See where the green is in the storage washroom?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that a door or a window?
It's a door.
It says it's a window. Well, I'm just going by what I'm reading, okay? And I don't like a group home or any home that has only one exit without going through the window,
I understand that.
okay? That's my,
I've been in the business for a while. I got my own
I've been
method.
in the real estate business for a while. And so, yeah, I understand that, but at the same time, I wouldn't want a house that had one door.
Yeah, it don't have one door, sir.
Okay, well, I'm just going by what I'm presented.
Any other questions for Mr. Jackson?
I have one.
Go ahead.
What sort of qualifications do you have to operate a group home?
Well, the qualifications, I've got a nurse that's gonna be running it. Okay, my business partner. She's got her master's, director of nursing for like 14 years at the Sel Tonto Native group home out there, or I should say nursing home. Okay, so Sarah will be doing all the work. She's a registered nurse, has a master's. She screens patients before we get them, so I would tell you, okay, I thought my voice was
You're
loud
being
enough.
recorded. That's why we want you to speak.
So I would say, we got all the qualifications that we need to run that. My mother spent 48 years out there at the state. Just lost almost 4 days to be a year. She's been out here. And I think that's something that we've had talked about was all of us going to try to get a group home going.
Will there be someone living on the premises that is qualified? Is one of these people going to live on the premises, or are they only going to be on the premises working 8 hours a
Well,
day?
I would almost say I don't think they would be living on the premises, the registered nurse. She stays in Arizona City. I don't think you have to live in the premises.
I'm not saying she has to, or I'm just asking if that is in fact what you're planning. I want to know what the plan is, not what you have to do.
No, the plans, like I said, the plans is here. I can tell you the plans.
The plan is to be, what, 5 people living in the property?
Five, mhm.
Okay.
So, and what we're gonna do, and I just felt like my mom's biggest concern was a place for my brother to stay, Ricky, which is a SMI patient, severely mentally ill, okay? And that's something that I wanted to do, okay? I had a group home in Apache Junction, so I understand the way it should be ran. I understand that the people that comes to that group home has to go to get themselves in a better place, whether it's for whatever problem they have, okay? They're gonna be behavior clients. Sarah will be in charge of that, my mother's house. I will be helping her when need be, but I'm gonna continue to do what I'm doing with my medical business. I've been doing this 30 years.
Commissioner Boland, under staff recommendation, which is typical for a conditional use permit for a group home, it states the applicant shall comply with all licensing and site requirements as set forth by the state of Arizona Health Services. So in order to have a group home outside of our zoning or conditional use permit, that has to be secured as well too, so.
And just to let you know, I was serious about what I was doing. I've got someone that has 8 behavioral health homes to open it up and do it correct. That way I don't have to go back and change anything. I want it to be done the right way, no problems, and take care of people. That's the job, just to try to make their life a little bit better. And I don't think I don't know if I'm right.
My apologies, folks, you're kind of breaking up, but I thought I heard Commissioner Boland ask a question, and I don't think I got a clear answer. Is the applicant intending to have patients living on property without somebody also being there on staff 24/7?
No, sir. No, sir. It would be staff there with the patients.
Only the patients would be living there, not the staff,
Not the staff.
okay?
So I want to make sure I'm not putting, this is again Commissioner Leonard, I want to make sure I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth. This is behavioral, psychological. I don't see that I saw something in there about drug abuse, but we intend to have patients unsupervised at points in a residential neighborhood.
No.
No, sir.
There will be someone supervising them 24 hours a day.
Okay, again, the follow-up, I'm confused then, because I may have misheard, but I thought Commissioner Boland asked, is there somebody on staff 24 hours, 7 days a week? And I thought the answer I heard was no.
Well, maybe I didn't answer correctly. There's always going to be somebody with the patients, man. They have to be somebody there with the patient.
So there's going to be a rotating staff, an
Yes, sir.
hourly staff that's 24 hours a day, every 8 hours, somebody will be.
Yeah, I'm probably going to do a 8-hour shift or 12-hour shift.
Okay.
Sir, isn't it true that these patients can come and go at their will from this group home? In other words, they can walk off the property.
Well, I think anybody can walk off the property. I mean, I can't hold nobody at the property.
They're not incarcerated. Having worked, this is Commissioner Duran, having worked in group homes before, the state's not gonna let him open up. The city won't give them a license until they've complied with all legal requirements. So
Yeah.
we're kind of kicking a dead horse. If they don't do it, they can't open up.
Yeah, can't open up the place. I understand that.
Who,
Got to be done correctly.
who monitors that 6 months from now, a year from now, you're still doing the same thing that you were doing when you started?
I'm a monitor. I don't know who y'all can have monitor. I'm a monitor myself in my mother's house.
I don't know if, Ms. Jackson, I just don't know if the city is going to check on you. I understand your intent.
Okay.
But I also understand labor challenges in any community where you can hire people and sometimes they get a better job.
They're not
Get more
incarcerated.
money. They leave.
They're not.
Let me explain this to you. My business partner, Sarah, okay, been in my apartment for 12 years. We do a lot with the Native Americans. We was doing Pinell County, the Sheriff Department for gloves for the fentanyl-resistant gloves, okay? So my sister, she stays here in Coolidge. She's going to be with Sarah, and we got a few more people we're going to probably bring aboard.
Okay.
That I know is going to do the work.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing, you know. We wasn't taught to be lazy. We taught to work and do it the right way. And
Okay, now, let me ask you a question. Phil was asking, are the people going to be confined to the home all the time, or are they just going to be able to come and go?
No, I would probably say this to you. Sarah will screen the residents because we'll make the decision who comes in that group home, okay? I don't think they're gonna be able to just come and go. They'll be staying there, okay? Now, if they get better and they want to leave, I mean, by all rights, they can leave and we get other patients in because I do have relationships, again, I'm gonna keep saying this, with the Native Americans. That means Gila, okay? That means Sales, Phoenix Indians. So, like I said, I'm not worried about that. I just want to make sure that the group home is ran properly. And of course, there's going to be somebody there with them patients. No way them patients can stay there by themselves.
That's what we want too.
You know, so just, I owe it to my mama. That's all I'm going to say. And I've worked out there with her at one time before I decided to go up there and to Gilbert and work for hospices and got on my own business after I worked for a distributor. So for me, I know it's a challenge, but you got to care about people, man.
Yeah,
You really do.
well, I understand. And you've got to have the right mental attitude to do that.
Yeah.
Caring for
And
somebody.
I mean, if you want to call and ask some of the nurses up there, I used to be a CNA, and I thought I was one of the best because I cared about people, brother. Like if that's my grandparents. Because if you don't have that type of heart, you shouldn't be doing the business.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the Department of Health Services is the one that conducts inspections and everything. They also do surprise visits, to our understanding. So you've read some in the news that weren't run properly, and so they've been shutting those down. So, they have oversight to these facilities that provide. We have our city laws that are in effect to all houses, no any disturbance, that type of thing that we apply, the PD would do for anybody.
So they're going to be licensed by the state of Arizona to operate this facility,
Right.
and we're only giving them the authorization as far as the zoning code to allow that particular location and that particular property for this, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we get a document that we sign off on that says it meets or does not meet the zoning requirements, and that's what this is for, to allow them to operate.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. And I want everyone sitting up here to remember, we went through this on one other one, that once we give the conditional use permit for this address, it will stand on this address till the sun don't shine.
Mr. Chair, it runs with the land, the conditional use permit does. So if something happens and, in the future and it's no longer, I think we could potentially remove it, but it does run with the land.
It runs with
It
the
can be
land.
revoked with any violations of, if there's a lot of problems with it or something, I mean, like any other business.
Right, but I just wanted everybody to remember,
Right.
it stands for,
Members of the staff, to that point, it may be impolite questions I'm going to ask, because I've heard a lot of we plan on, I intend to. When, not if, when a patient leaves the property and decides to go to somebody else's property, what's the process to either bring them back or to address the situation? Who handles that? How is it handled?
Sarah, I would probably say Sarah's going to handle that, and we've already discussed that. If someone, I think, would leave that property and they're not supposed to, the police or somebody have to be notified. Okay, so that I know that much. But Sarah wasn't able to come with me, which I wish she had her. She's a better talker than I am. Okay. Therefore, the question could have been answered that man is asking, because of course there's going to be staff there. And Sarah will be there because, of course, she's an RN, and I've seen the work that she does. And we care. We care, and then my sister.
With respect to the applicant and to the chair and the group, you're not answering my question. Again, I'm hearing somebody else, some other future plan. A patient goes from this location, pick your number, 3 doors down, and is causing a disturbance, is causing an issue. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. That's the nature
See,
Who does that neighbor call? They call 911, and when that occurs, what's the process from there to correct the situation? That's what I'd like to know this evening, because you're not asking us to approve it when somebody else shows up, you're asking us to approve it this evening.
Excuse me, my name is Lynetta Jackson. I'm also the daughter of home. The proper process to that is to call crisis mobile team, also 911, and see if we can get a bed or a hospitalization for that member.
And approximately how long would you assume that takes if we're having one staff, two staff, three staff? I've not heard anything about security staff. I've heard nothing, which is I have nothing but praise for our heads. But this is going to my overall concern that there's a lot of unknowns and there doesn't appear to be, while there's dedication and there's passion for it, I'm still concerned that we're dropping this intensive use into a residential neighborhood with a lot of promises. That's my overall concern. And what's the timing, in your opinion, and my apologies, I don't know the answer to that question, between the time you 911 and the time you're looking for a crisis team, with somebody actually showing up on site?
That can be as simple as a 911 call to let them know that we have a disturbance in the area. Outside of that, the 911 call should stabilize that member until we get a crisis mobile team on the line.
and I want to reiterate that too, because for me, the one thing that, you know, from talking to Sarah and Kay, and that's the team. It's not, I'm not putting nobody in it. We have a team, okay, for this business. I believe that's going to be when you say what the time frame, that depends on the department. I couldn't answer that. If he asked me what's the time frame.
Crisis situation in somebody else's property, in somebody else's backyard, and you're not certain how long it would take to create a crisis team to get to have that resolution.
So,
Do you not see that there's a problem with that?
Well,
if I could interject, this is Commissioner Duran. I work for the city of Casa Grande Police Department. We go to far more calls for services for Joe Citizen than we do for about a dozen group homes in Casa Grande. There are more problems with your average citizen than a person that inhabits a group home, and we go to crisis situations far more to a citizen that doesn't live in a group home than that do. And so what they're articulating is a crisis team will be sent out. We go to everywhere. We show up, that's why we pay the police. You respond for calls for service, a critical incident, and most of the time it's someone who's just not having a good day. So from my experience of 16 years as a cop, we go to far more critical incidents for a citizen who's lost his job, his wife left him, he's drunk, he's on meth, than we go to group homes by far. And that's my professional experience. And the crisis team is open to anyone. Anyone in this room can call for a crisis team if they're having a bad day.
Right.
That's why we pay taxes, that's why the cops show up, because we're kind of the monkey wrench for society. So,
And what's the gentleman's name that I'm talking to?
Mr. Leonard.
Mr. Leonard?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's his.
Okay, and Mr. Leonard, actually, you know what? Everything that you're asking me is probably in that policy and procedure book that's sitting there.
Yeah.
That's why I told you to bring it up here, because it's probably written out in there, in that book. And it is a crisis, like he said. And I should explain myself. Yeah, I own a business, but I've worked in the medical field for many years. I worked for Desert Valley in Casa Grande. I worked for hospice family care. I worked over there for that behavioral health home right there off of Brown Road in Mesa. We had problems with those people, but it's the way it's the way you address people and talk to people. It really is. It is. I didn't have many problems with any of those behavior clients. And that's why I said I'm going to be involved, but Sarah is a registered nurse, and I want a nurse there at that house. And I agree with is that Mr. Duran, Matt Duran? I agree with what he's saying, because God bless, I done turned 59 years old, and I done seen it all, okay? And you're going to have more problems out of regular people than you do those people that's in the group home. That I can tell you. Because I was a CNA, was finna get my nursing, and then I got into working for hospice, and then I got into a distributor, and then I learned that business, and I've done fairly well with it. I've been living in my house in Gilbert for 26 years, never no problems. So I'm gonna give my best shot. If we get it, do the best I can, have the team understand it. We're not gonna just take patients in, that's why we're gonna screen them. So we're gonna screen those patients, we'll make a decision if we want them in the home. I'm not hungry for money. I'm not gonna just let anybody in my mother's house. I need to make sure that they're not gonna cause problems for the other staff that's in there. I mean, the other clients that lives there. That's why you screen their records. You always look at the patient's records. So
Did you get an answer, Shane?
Commissioner, this is again Commissioner Leonard. Thank you very much for the commentary. I appreciate it. And I appreciate what you said. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
okay. Anybody from the public like to come make comments? Name and address, please.
My name is Cassandra White, and I live at 432 West Walton. I live exactly 2 houses to the west from this residence. I've lived there for 38 years in the same residence. I have seen my neighborhood go through lots of changes. I went to school with Miss Jackson. My sister went to school with Ricky Jackson, their brother. And I have the utmost respect for this family. They are hardworking and good people. With that being said, I babysit my grandchildren, usually 7 of them in a day. They get dropped off to me at 6:30 in the morning, and I keep them till 5, 2 houses away from this residence. We cannot pick our neighbors, no, we can't. But in the last few years, the house across the street from me, directly behind Subway, it took them over 2 years to evict the drug addict people out of that house. It's been shot at. I mean, people coming in all hours of the night. Down the street, 2 houses down across from this place, we have a sex offender that lives right down the street across from this home. And a little bit, the 3rd block down is constantly being shot at or something. I live in my little I own a double lot. I've recently put up a block wall, and all I'm saying is I want you to be aware you can't pick our neighbors. And like he said, I hope he does screen the people that he is going to bring into my home. My grandchildren, all 13 of them, range from 22 years old to 8 months old. The ones that stay with me are 11 to 8 months old, 11 years old to 8 months old. I come and go all day long with 3 kids in tow. I'm putting 3 kids outside of a fence into a truck, trying to be aware of my surroundings at all times. There is a ton of foot traffic that comes from the east up my street. I'm just like say, stay at home all day. And I kid you not, there's at least 10 to 12 people that they're disheveled, not making judgments, but they are obviously just on the move. Foot traffic, foot traffic, foot traffic. They've got a backpack and a Walmart bag, backpack and a Walmart bag. Up and down, up and down, up and down this street all day. So this is the neighborhood we're in, just so you know. This is how much it has changed in 38 years. I'm gonna die here unless I win that Powerball tonight. I'm gonna live in that house till I die. I hope it works for them. Their dad that lived there, nicest man you ever meet in your life. And in regards to how fast the REACT team comes, more power to you for believing in it, but I have called before on a situation, and it has taken longer than if you're not handling that crap yourself, you're done. Honest to God.
Yep.
So, and my maiden name is McCullough, and my dad said, you know what the number one thing in life is? Self-preservation. So there's nobody that's gonna count for you 100% of the time but you, because you're going to pay for what you did 100% of the time. Nobody's going to protect you like you're going to protect yourself. I'm in charge of taking care of those children with every ounce of my being. With that being said, every one of you and them, and I trusted their judgment, because like I said, I went to school with Lynetta, good judgment. But it's on you, like you say, when that one person gets out of control, which they don't even have to live there. He could be the guy across the street, but you're bringing it into a residential area, so choose wisely. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak?
Once again, I'm Lynetta Jackson, daughter of Lucerne Jackson. So I am here to let you guys know that I have worked with Pinnell Hispanic Council, which is also a behavioral health for about 7.5 years. I am also an intake specialist. I diagnose and I also figure out, which patients that we can, accept that are safe to the community. I'm also trained in behavioral health. I'm a BHT 2, level 2. And I am trained to de-escalate a situation and also try to talk down a situation until the police gets there or until crisis is there to determine where that member should go. I'm very well aware of the process to de-escalate.
Thank you. Anybody else? Public section is closed. I'll entertain a motion.
Coolidge PZ 230836. I move to table this for further research.
Commissioner Leonard seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard, aye.
Thank you. Cool PZ 230836 has been tabled for further research. And the public hearing section, do we want to carry it over or close it?
It's fine. You had closed the public hearing. If
Okay.
someone wants to speak at the next meeting,
Yeah,
you can entertain them.
motion to do whatever. Okay.
Approve these minutes.
That next meeting, I'll make sure that Sarah and Kate is here, because we've already got our team together. That way, it may be a little bit smoother.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I did already.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You voted on it.
I must be asleep.
As soon as our chairman gets done talking, we'll have the chairman's, the Gilbert, you got a report?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I will report that we attended a Nikola hydrogen truck rollout on September 28th, Thursday. It was very well attended, and they were actually promoting, and you can see it on YouTube. You look up Nikola, and they have a rollout event, and they show the whole thing. It's really cool. And so they did that on Thursday, about half a day. We took of the plant. I know some of the council members were there along with the mayor and then some of us staff. So it was really nice. The trucks are state of the art, so we're looking forward, hopefully to sell a lot of them, and that'll be good. Also met with Pinal Hispanic Council and Intermountain, which is our partner, about some property, if you remember where Cohen's was, the department store, that is being purchased by them. We're going through that process. They already got approved and everything. They're going to build a facility there. Right now, they're on the boulevard, so they're going to have a new building there. They're building, and
Moving
Pretty-
from a
pretty-
garage to a clothing store.
it's the one by Jalapenos, that's the one they have
Yeah.
right now for
Used
services.
to be a garage.
Yeah, and so this is going to be a really nice building, brand new. We're very excited for downtown because it's going to bring more people there and more, people that work there. So hopefully we'll get more people to the restaurants and they locate down there because you need density, public, to buy things, and so we're really excited for that. Hopefully, some of the businesses around there reopen. There's one that was open and then closed, and then there's some more down the street. Hopefully, we'll see some activity and they'll get better. But other than that, we've got just a lot of work. We're still seeing houses being built. We're still, not the quantities that were before, but we're seeing some. We're seeing activity up and down the boulevard. I know Mr. Boland has his business that he's trying to finish up and get it. Some of the driveways finished and landscaping up front. We have also the rental facility behind Dollar General. That's moving along really well. It's going pretty fast, so anticipate that opening. And then we have the gas station at Shope's is moving really well. They got curbing done and everything, so I'm hoping the islands will go in pretty quickly. But I haven't seen,
It's
when that's
sitting
going to.
still right now.
So it's just stopped. Oh, well, hopefully they'll get it going
I
again.
don't know they're waiting on something, either the pumps.
Yep.
I don't know what the problem is.
Oh,
but
okay, yeah. So the other one too is Real Alberto's reached out to us. You remember that one? It's just north of Dragon City, I think, and so they're just changing the type of building. They're gonna use a modular type building. It looks exactly like the one pretty much that they presented. It's built in a factory, but it still has all the different features and everything else. We'll get to review it to make sure it matches what you approved on the elevations. We said it has to match. And they go, oh, no, don't worry. And Phil saw some Burger Kings. I'll come to Burger King in a little while. But that look great. They have everything the way they're built. And then also a reporter, she called Burger King directly, and they said 24, right? The beginning of 24, they're going to come. Yeah, so they're still committed to coming. So it's just.
When are they coming?
In early 24, in the spring of 24, hopefully. Yeah, which, because of, I would think Mr. Boland knows, getting all your parts and concrete and all that has been challenging to a lot of people. It's hard to get that done. So anyway, that's all I have at this point. I know it's late. Thank you all for being here.
How about the hotel?
We've reached out to the hotel. We haven't heard back. I know the last we heard from them, they were working with Marriott on the lobbies. We knew that was the case. I haven't heard back from them. We reached out to them to see what's. So hopefully we'll hear pretty quick. We'll make another call. And I know our news reporter also tried to get a hold of them, and we just haven't heard back. So.
Okay.
But a lot of activity, and you notice the roads are being built. I think we're almost done with Coolidge Avenue out to Skousen. Ben Navarro, our public works director, is really stay on top of those, and we're trying to get them all done. It'll be really nice when they're all finished. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Got anything else, Ken?
Nope.
Mr. Duran, you got anything?
No, sir.
Bill?
Just call the public, and that's it.
Call to the public. Anybody got anything else they want to say? Okay.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.